If you're over 60, I want you to take a moment and think about your daily routine. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you probably have a set of habits you've followed for years, maybe even decades. They feel safe, familiar, and harmless. But here's the truth that often surprises my patients. Some of these everyday habits may quietly be increasing your stroke risk without you even realizing it. As a doctor who has spent over 15 years caring for older adults, I've seen far too many strokes that could have been prevented simply by changing a small part of someone's daily routine. Stroke is the 5th leading cause of death in the United States and one of the top reasons for long-term disability. But what most people don't realize is that it isn't always the big, dramatic events that cause the danger. Often, it's the little things we repeat every single day that quietly push our risk higher and higher. Imagine this. You think you're starting your morning right, but one simple choice could be making your blood thicker, your blood pressure spike, or your arteries more stressed than they need to be. Or you're relaxing in the evening, unaware that the position you've been sitting in for hours is slowing your circulation and setting the stage for trouble. The good news is, knowledge is power. When you understand how these habits affect your body, especially as we age, you can make changes that protect your brain and heart for years to come. So today, I'm going to share 5 everyday habits that may be quietly increasing your stroke risk after 60, and the simple steps you can take to turn that risk around, starting today. Drinking coffee. Right after waking up? For many of us, the smell of fresh coffee in the morning feels like a warm hug. It's part of a comforting ritual. You get out of bed, head to the kitchen, and pour that first steaming cup before anything else. But if you're over 60, starting your day with coffee before anything else may be quietly raising your stroke risk. Here's why. After a night's sleep, your body is naturally dehydrated. You've gone 7 or 8 hours, sometimes more, without drinking water. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, and your heart has to work harder to pump it through your arteries. For someone with aging blood vessels that may already have plaque buildup, this thicker blood can increase the chance of forming clots, the main culprit behind most strokes. Coffee, as much as we love it, acts as a mild diuretic. That means it encourages your body to get rid of water. Whereas if you drink it before you've had any fluids, you're adding to the dehydration your body already has from the night. And caffeine can cause a quick rise in blood pressure, sometimes 10 to 15 points higher within minutes, which puts extra stress on your arteries, especially in the morning when your natural blood pressure tends to be at its peak. Let me share a real example. One of my patients, a 68-year-old man from Florida, had been in the habit of drinking 2 cups of strong coffee immediately after waking up for years. One morning, he experienced sudden dizziness and trouble speaking, symptoms of a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. After we reviewed his routine, he began drinking a full glass of water before touching his coffee and limiting his caffeine intake. His morning blood pressure readings improved significantly within weeks. The solution here is simple and doesn't mean you have to give up coffee. Instead, think of water as the first step your body needs when you wake up. Drink at least 1 full glass, 8 to 12 ounces, of plain water before you brew your coffee. This helps rehydrate your body, thin your blood slightly, and get your circulation moving smoothly. If you love coffee, enjoy it in moderation. Most experts recommend no more than 2 cups per day for older adults. And if you're sensitive to caffeine or have high blood pressure, consider switching 1 cup to decaf. Also, try not to add too much sugar or flavored creamers. Both can contribute to inflammation and heart problems over time. Remember, coffee itself isn't the enemy. It's the timing and the lack of water beforehand that create the problem. By simply changing the order, water first, coffee second, you give your body a healthier, more balanced start to the day, and you take one small but powerful step toward lowering your stroke risk. Skipping breakfast or eating breakfast. Too late. I know many people who tell me, "Oh, I'm just not hungry in the morning," or "I've never been a breakfast person." Some even believe skipping breakfast will help them lose weight or give their body a rest. But if you're over 60, missing your morning meal or delaying it too long can quietly increase your stroke risk in ways you might not expect. When you wake up, your body has already been fasting for 8 to 10 hours, while your brain and muscles are running on the last of your stored energy from the night before. If you go several more hours without eating, your blood sugar drops. In response, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to keep you going. The problem is, those hormones also raise your blood pressure and make your blood vessels tighten. Over time, this repeated morning stress can damage artery walls and increase the chance of clot formation. Skipping breakfast also means your blood is thicker in the morning, a natural state after hours without hydration or nutrients, which raises the risk of blockages in the vessels that supply your brain. This is especially dangerous for people who already have narrowed arteries from plaque buildup. Let me give you an example. A 72-year-old gentleman I worked with in Ohio had a habit of drinking only coffee in the morning and waiting until lunchtime to eat. He often felt lightheaded when doing chores in the late morning, and one day he nearly fainted. After a thorough checkup, his doctor explained that the drop in his blood sugar and spike in blood pressure each morning was putting unnecessary stress on his heart and brain. Once he started having a small, balanced breakfast, within an hour of waking, those dizzy spells disappeared. The solution doesn't require a heavy or complicated meal. In fact, a simple breakfast can make a big difference. Aim to eat something light but nourishing within 60 minutes of waking. This could be a slice of whole grain toast with almond butter, a small bowl of oatmeal topped with berries, or a banana with a handful of walnuts. The goal is to give your body steady fuel and hydration early in the day, so your blood pressure and circulation stay stable. And one more tip: avoid breakfast foods loaded with sugar or too much salt. Sugary pastries or heavily salted processed meats can cause your blood pressure to spike and trigger inflammation. Instead, focus on whole foods that provide protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Your brain is your hungriest organ. It needs a constant supply of nutrients and oxygen to function at its best. By making breakfast a non-negotiable part of your day, you're not just satisfying your hunger. You're actively protecting your brain and lowering your stroke risk with one simple, delicious choice. Sitting too long without moving. We all enjoy a good book, a favorite TV show, or catching up with friends on the phone. But here's the problem. As we get older, long stretches of sitting still can quietly harm our circulation and significantly raise our stroke risk. When you sit for long periods, especially more than an hour or two, blood tends to pool in your legs. This slows your circulation and makes it easier for blood clots to form in the deep veins of your legs or pelvis. If one of these clots breaks free and travels to your brain, it can block a blood vessel and cause an ischemic stroke, the most common type of stroke. For younger people, the body can compensate more easily, but after 60, blood vessels lose elasticity and circulation naturally slows. That means the damage from inactivity happens faster and the recovery is slower. I remember a patient, a 65-year-old woman from Texas, who loved watching afternoon movies. She often sat for 4 to 5 hours at a time, only getting up during commercials. One evening, she stood up after a long movie marathon and felt sudden weakness on one side of her body. It turned out she'd had a small stroke caused by a clot that likely developed while she was sitting for so long. The good news is that prevention is simple. You don't need to run a marathon, just break up your sitting time. Every 30 to 45 minutes, stand up, stretch, or walk around for a few minutes. Even small movements, walking to refill a glass of water, standing to fold laundry, or pacing while talking on the phone. Keep your blood flowing. If you spend time watching TV, keep the remote a little farther away so you have to stand up to change the channel or adjust the volume. Set a gentle alarm or reminder to move at regular intervals. You can even do seated exercises like ankle circles, knee lifts, or squeezing a small ball between your hands to get the blood moving. Another helpful tip: stay hydrated. Drinking enough water throughout the day not only supports circulation, but also encourages you to stand up more often to refill your cup or use the restroom, both natural ways to keep moving. Think of movement as medicine. Just as you take your daily vitamins or prescriptions, take movement breaks to protect your brain and heart. These tiny bursts of activity may seem too small to matter, but over time, they can dramatically lower your risk of stroke and improve your overall health. You don't have to give up your favorite shows or hobbies. Just sprinkle in moments of movement. Your brain will thank you, your heart will thank you, and most importantly, you'll be giving yourself the best chance for many more healthy years ahead. Holding urine or straining in the bathroom. It might sound harmless. You wake up and decide to lie in bed a little longer, even though you feel the urge to use the bathroom. Or perhaps you've dealt with constipation and found yourself pushing harder to get things moving. But for older adults, both of these habits can quietly raise your stroke risk in ways many people never consider. When you hold urine for too long, your bladder fills and stretches, triggering a stress response in your body. This causes your blood pressure to rise sharply, sometimes by 20 points or more. In the early morning, when blood pressure is already naturally higher, that extra surge can put dangerous strain on your heart and brain. For someone with high blood pressure, narrowed arteries, or a history of heart disease, it's the perfect setup for a stroke. Straining during a bowel movement is another hidden danger. When you hold your breath and push hard, your chest and abdominal pressure increase dramatically in what's called the Valsalva maneuver. This temporarily reduces the amount of blood returning to your heart, then sends it rushing back all at once. That sudden fluctuation can cause fragile blood vessels in the brain to rupture or dislodge plaque, blocking blood flow. One of my patients, a 70-year-old man from California, learned this lesson the hard way. He'd been struggling with constipation and often pushed hard in the bathroom. One morning, he felt sudden weakness on one side of his body while straining, a mild stroke. Thankfully, he recovered well, but it was a wake-up call for him to change his bathroom habits. The good news is that these risks are preventable. For urination, go to the bathroom as soon as you feel the urge, especially first thing in the morning. If you find you're waking up several times at night, talk to your doctor. It could be a sign of another condition that can be managed. For bowel movements, keep things moving naturally by staying hydrated and eating a diet rich in fiber. Good sources include oatmeal, fresh fruits, vegetables, and beans. Aim for 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day. Gentle daily activity, like walking or stretching, also helps your digestive system work more smoothly. If constipation is persistent, speak with your healthcare provider about safe stool softeners designed for older adults. But avoid overusing laxatives, as they can weaken bowel function over time. In the bathroom, give yourself time, relax your body, and avoid holding your breath. If needed, try elevating your feet slightly on a small stool to make the process easier and reduce strain. Remember, your brain and heart depend on steady, gentle blood flow. Avoiding sudden spikes or drops in pressure is one of the simplest ways to protect yourself. Something as routine as using the bathroom shouldn't become a risk. With a few mindful changes, it can be as safe as it should be. Standing up too quickly from sitting or lying down. You might think jumping right out of bed or standing up quickly from your chair shows you're full of energy, but after age 60, those sudden movements can quietly put you at higher stroke risk, and in some cases, cause dangerous falls. Here's what happens inside your body. When you've been lying down or sitting for a while, your blood naturally pools in your lower body. Standing up quickly forces your heart to pump blood upward against gravity, but your blood vessels need a moment to tighten and push that blood to your brain. In younger people, this adjustment happens quickly, but as we age, our blood vessels become stiffer, and our heart may respond more slowly. The result can be a sudden drop in blood pressure, a condition called orthostatic hypotension. This sudden dip can cause dizziness, blurred vision, or even a blackout. In those few seconds, your balance can fail, leading to a fall. And here's where the stroke risk comes in. Hitting your head in a fall can cause bleeding inside the brain, a hemorrhagic stroke, or lead to a blood clot that blocks circulation, an ischemic stroke. For anyone on blood thinners, which many seniors take, even a minor head injury can become life-threatening. I remember a patient, a 69-year-old woman from North Carolina, who was always in a hurry. One morning, her phone rang while she was still lying in bed. She jumped up to answer it, felt dizzy, and fell against the nightstand, hitting her head. She developed a brain bleed that required surgery. She told me later, "If I'd just taken 5 extra seconds, this never would have happened." The fix is simple, but powerful. When you wake up, give your body a moment to adjust. Open your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and sit up slowly. Let your legs dangle off the side of the bed for about 30 seconds before standing. If you're in a chair, plant your feet firmly on the floor, take a steady breath, and rise at a comfortable pace. If you often feel lightheaded when you stand, mention it to your doctor. Sometimes medications or dehydration can make the problem worse. Drinking enough water throughout the day, wearing compression stockings, or adjusting certain prescriptions can help keep your blood pressure steady. It may feel like a small change, but those extra few seconds can make the difference between a safe start to your day and a life-altering event. Think of it this way. Your body has worked hard for you all these years. Give it the time and care it deserves when you move from rest to action. Slow and steady isn't just safer. It's a smart way to protect your brain, heart, and independence for years to come. We've covered 5 everyday habits that may be quietly increasing your stroke risk after 60. They're not dramatic or obvious. In fact, that's what makes them so dangerous. Drinking coffee before water in the morning, skipping or delaying breakfast, sitting still for too long, holding urine or straining in the bathroom, and standing up too quickly. Each one may seem harmless on its own, but repeated day after day, these habits can put real stress on your heart, your blood vessels, and your brain. The effects build slowly, often without any warning signs, until one day there's a serious event. And by then, the damage can be life-changing. But here's the good news. Every single one of these risks can be lowered with small, consistent changes. You don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight. Start with 1 or 2 changes that feel easiest for you. Maybe tomorrow morning you drink a glass of water before your coffee. Or you set a reminder to stand up and stretch every half hour while watching TV. Over time, these little choices become part of your routine, and they add up to a healthier, stronger you. I've seen patients transform their health simply by paying attention to these details. A man in his late 60s began having breakfast within an hour of waking and taking short walks every afternoon. Within a few months, his blood pressure improved, his energy increased, and his doctor was able to reduce one of his medications. The truth is, protecting your brain and heart isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and steady effort. The more you understand how your daily habits affect your stroke risk, the more control you have over your future. So I encourage you, choose one change today. Write it down, commit to it, and notice how you feel after a week. Then add another. These are gifts you give to yourself and to your loved ones who want you here for many more years. As I often tell my patients, every morning you wake up is another chance to take care of the body that carries you through life. Let's make the most of that chance. If you found this helpful, share it with friends or family who might benefit. And remember, on Elderly Whisper, we're here to guide you with compassion, experience, and practical tips you can trust, because your health and independence matter.